So I'm a dad now, and I couldn't be happier. Like, as any of you know, I have kids. It's it's such a cool feeling to like have created life and seeing your baby in your arms for the first time, like in this photo here. But having lived now in Japan for 6 years straight, I can really start to see why people don't have babies because of the legal and cultural system in Japan. And I wanted to share that with you so you know what you're prepared for if you ever intend to have a baby here, or just if you want to know that Japan is maybe not the paradise you thought it was. I want to start with the legal stuff because on paper, Japan looks surprisingly good. Both the mom and the dad can have up to a year of maternity and paternity leave, and that is legal. So that means that the company cannot stop you. Though, of course, there are some caveats here. Like you only get paid maximum 67% of your salary. And then after 6 months after a child is born, it's only 50% of your salary. And on top of that, it's capped. So you only get a certain level, which is around 250,000 yen a month at max. Doesn't matter how much you earn. Which, it sounds fine. Like if you just save up a little bit before, especially if you don't live in central Tokyo, or if you just have a good job where you can save a lot of money, it's definitely not the end of the world. You can definitely survive for a year or two with a salary of 250,000 yen in Japan. But that's only the start, right? I made another video, which you should check out here. It's about, having a baby in Japan, and, that it's definitely not free to take the baby to hospital or even give birth, stuff like that. It's not expensive. And the government do pay back some of the money you pay to the hospital. And then on top of that, it's just like getting into hoikuen or nursery. It can be really tough depending where you live. That can really discourage people from having a baby, right? If you can't put your kid in nursery, you can't start working. And, after a while, the company will either never ever promote you because you're not loyal enough, right? But again, these are minor compared to what I really want to talk about in this video. The real problem about having a baby in Japan as a dad is culture. As you see, the legal framework is there to protect people, but it doesn't matter. Japanese culture is really, really strong. In 2022 was when the Japanese government started taking papa kyuka, or postpartum paternity leave, seriously. And they increased the paternity leave a lot. And yet, the number of dads that take paternity leave is still 40.5% of all fathers. I think as a foreigner watching this, it's very easy to think that I'm a foreigner. I don't have to be bound by the Japanese culture. If the law is on my side, I'm just going to take whatever leave I am entitled to. And I think it's a very easy thing to say. But living in Japan, you realize that the way things work makes it very hard to do something that's not part of the script or that's not part of the deal, what other people are doing. I actually experienced this firsthand in my job. So I'm taking paternity leave for just 1 month. And my boss, again, this is Japanese culture. So of course he wouldn't say like, no, you're not allowed to do that. Or like, how stupid are you? But instead what he does, it's so Japanese. He goes, like, ine. It's like, oh, that's so good for you. So nice, you're gonna have a holiday. It's not really mean, right? But it's like a bit passive aggressive. And then he sends out an email reply all being like, Ray's taking a long holiday. Ray, please tell everyone from which date to which date. First of all, I feel like it is kind of offensive to call paternity leave holiday because you're not really relaxing that much. Second of all, it's just these things, right? Like he didn't do anything wrong, but now I feel so guilty because I want to be with my kid. They have to take on my job, right? And I have to tell them what date to what date they have to take over my responsibilities. These things, right? You can just brush them off and say, well, it's my right. But again, it's hard, especially when you're taught every day in this country that everything's teamwork. Everyone's a cog in the machine, and if one cog breaks, the whole machine breaks. That's the kind of mindset every Japanese person has. And to go against that, it's very, very hard. So I can see how it's so hard for people that need paternity leave to take it because they don't want to disappoint their colleagues, their friends. And even though they should prioritize themselves sometimes, I feel like the need to prioritize others in front of you is so strong in Japan because they would do the same for you, that nothing changes for the better of being a dad. And that leads me to the second point. It's so hard to take the benefits you promised because it's a teamwork country. Everything you do as a team. If a deadline is not met, that means your team works twice as hard. And the data really backs this up. Survey shows that employees work more than 80 hours of overtime each month at average. And as you all know, karoshi, or death from overwork, is a Japanese word that's used often. On top of that, to get promoted in Japanese companies, you have to go to nomika, you have to get drunk, you have to do all these extracurricular activities to show your loyalty. And that makes it so hard for anyone that wants to be a good dad to come home on time, to not smell like alcohol, to be able to interact with your kid in a normal dad-like way. A really good analogy I heard from a Japanese colleague is like, working in a Japanese company is like being part of a football team. You have a role, and you need to fulfill that role all the time you're on the field. And if you don't, and the other team scores a goal, right? It's not your fault if you're there and did your best. It's the team fault. There's so many other things you could do together to be good as a team. You're only as strong as your weakest link, right? But imagine if you didn't show up to that game and the other team won, everybody's gonna blame you. And that is exactly how it is to work in a Japanese team. So now, just imagine if you decide to take paternity leave or focus more on your kids, go home earlier, right? It's like saying, oh, I know we have a game on Friday, but I'm not gonna be there. So you just, as 10 people instead of 11, try to do as best you can against the opponent. Like, that's the kind of pressure Japanese people feel. And the kind of pressure, honestly, that you start feeling as a foreigner if you work here long enough. It's very scary, and it's probably the main reason why only 40% take any paternity leave at all. Now, I think there is hope. I made a video about this here, the bubble burst, my most successful video of all time on YouTube. And I think it really captures what Japan was. If you worked hard enough in this country, you would become successful. In fact, you would become one of the richest people in the world just by working hard for a big company, because people were rewarded for hard work and dedication to the company. And in that world, it was fine that the dad sacrificed his life for the company. The mom, she became a shufu, a housewife, and took care of the kids. But the promise was always there that both him and her and the kid will be taken care of by this Japanese societal infrastructure. That you work hard, you get paid a lot. Sadly, since the 90s, this dream has slowly started to collapse. Japanese companies are more inefficient. Japanese managers stay forever. Natural turnover, where a 30-year-old would become a senior manager when he was in his 40s. It's not happening because guess what? All the 80-year-olds are still staying in the company. And then the whole company is now top-heavy with old managers who don't know how to use a computer. And then the younger people have to cut their slack because they can't do shit. And this really leads up to a system where people actually work more now than they did in the 80s and 90s and get paid way less, because the senior managers and the directors, they get all the money while they're so incapable of doing anything, and they should probably retire. And this has led to something which I actually think is good for Japanese society. Japan has the highest number of quiet quitters in the world. Yeah, remember that word? There was a Dutch study done in Japan that showed that over 45% of young people admit that they are either actively quiet quitting or just not ambitious to do anything at work. That's a crazy number. And you can kind of see that with the number of quiet quitters, the number of people taking vacation and the number of people who are taking paternity leave is slowly going up. So I do feel like, Japan is not doomed in that sense. Young people do take vacation seriously. Young people do want to be there for their kids. Young people do have traumatic memories of how their parents were never at home, and many of them want to change that. But this is clearly a blip in the radar of Japan, because the overall trend is that less and less kids are born every year. And definitely the societal and cultural pressures are too strong to actually be a good dad in this country. You can see in this graph, right? Japan's population is shrinking fast. In 2024, there are about 720,000 births. This is 9 consecutive years of decline, and the decline is fast. The fertility rate is roughly 1.15 children per woman, and that is far below the 2.1 you need to keep the population stable. And each year, there are twice as many deaths as births. So as you can see here on this table, the number of people that are going to live in Japan is going to be halved in not that long. So what can we do about this? Like, I'm serious. Like, what can be done to reverse this, or at least make it stop, make it better for dads? Which is something that's rarely discussed, right? Especially in a country like Japan, where the gender roles are so strong that it's like almost expected for women to stay at home and dad to be at work. It is tough. And again, the law is on paper, but the shame is in our bones. And we need more than policies. We need bosses who lead by example, colleagues who support us, and a society that values dads as much as it values workers. I mean, dads are literally the only way to make this country survive. And I think we need, as a society, to accept that we need to give mom and dads permission to be a family more than to be office workers. For me, Taking that month off is probably gonna be the best decision of my life. Finally, some time to get away from the rat race and see what it's like to do things that actually matters for the future. I might have annoyed a few coworkers, especially because I'm gonna take another 2 months in a couple of months from now. But the baby won't remember my promotion or my inbox or that 5% salary bump I might get if I never see my son. He'll remember if I was there or not. Because that's what I remember from my dad, that he was there for me. And this is not only in Japan, this is everywhere in the world. But I really hope that this video shares some light in why it's hard to be a dad and why it's so easy to say that you can just stand above the other people and do what's right. But to do it in reality is really, really tough when everyone's against you. Please give me the strength to do what's right for my family. And thank you for watching.